The Buffalo Sabres came up with a big comeback win in Game 6 to force Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens. Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres is here to talk about what it'll take to win that game. Coming up next on today's Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Sabres, Joe DiBiase. And Joe, what an exciting time it was for the Buffalo Sabres. Down 3-1. They come back on the road to force a Game 7. What changed after the first period in that game?
It's funny. I think really the simple answer to that question is simply put goaltending. Like, I think the Sabres actually played pretty well in a period where they were down 3-2 in the first period against Montreal in Game 6. They score a minute into the game. They are far and away out shooting Montreal. I thought they had the better of the chances, but your goalie at one point, they went back and corrected it after, but he gets pulled and you looked up at the stat sheet and he's allowed 3 goals on 3 shots. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, the team's playing well. And I think Lindy Ruff actually did a really good job. They showed him at one point on the broadcast. Like, he's giving it to his team. Like, not even in a bad way. Like, we're good. We're good. We're playing well here. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Don't let the scoreboard and the sound of the atmosphere around you right now get in your head. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay engaged in the game. And the Sabres absolutely did that. I mean, they came out in the second period and looked even better. And even before leaving the first period, I think it was big to get that one goal near the end of the first. You're down 3-1, and Montreal, the crowd is going nuts, and the atmosphere, and they're feeling like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it tonight. We're going to win it on home ice. Their first Saturday playoff game in a decade. And you get that power play goal with just a couple of minutes to go in the first that settles everything in. Like, they're quiet now. You're right back in the game. You're down 1 with a ton of hockey left. And, man, they just put the throttle down in period number 2, where they did, I think, everything they did in the first, but even better. I mean, it was rare Montreal touched the puck. They were fast. They were creative. They were every pass they made, it felt like was tape to tape. And it had Montreal, I think, spinning defensively. So it was all of their talent, speed, and skill culminating in one period, which we had been waiting for. Because honestly, that really hadn't happened, I think, in this series until fully it happened in the second period.
You're coming back now to Buffalo for Game 7. The place is going to be rocking. How does Lindy Ruff get this team ready, but not too ready?
Yeah, Lindy had a funny comment yesterday to open the press conference because the Sabres have been so good on the road. They are 5-1 in these playoffs on the road, and they are 2-4 at home. And he joked, like, we're actually seeing if the league will let us play this Game 7 at the Bell Center because they're more comfortable on the road. Like, I think maybe there's less of a feeling of we need to entertain maybe while you're out there. I mean, the Sabres did not have a problem on home ice during the regular season at all, but it has happened in the playoffs here. And by the way, that's not unique. Montreal, same thing. They are, I think, 5-2 on the road and 2-4 also at home. So I think Lindy actually might get creative here. He's talking about changing routines. They might stay at a hotel this week or tomorrow, like in the next couple of days here, as they prepare for Game 7, as kind of simulating a road game. And like, let's do the road game routine and get yourself in the mindset of what you've been doing away from KeyBank Center for KeyBank Center. So I think Lindy's going to try to play that game. He's not going to practice also. He pushed that right button, which was after a Game 4 or a Game 5 where they got boat raced. He didn't even bring the guys into the building for a video session. Not even did they not have practice. Like, don't even come to the rink. Like, I'm going to show faith in you guys. I'm not going to sit there for an hour in the video room and berate you for what you did wrong. You know what you did. You know what you have to do in Game 6, and I have faith in the group that they're going to do it. And that absolutely happened in Game 6. So Lindy's right, I think, to run that strategy back. He's just letting the guys go and trusting that they're going to show up in game 7 and play the way they need to.
How big of a concern is goaltending heading into game 7?
It's I think a big concern, and it's one that I didn't think we'd get to in the postseason because both guys, Alex Lyon and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, had been so solid all regular season long. And it was more a question of, man, which guy don't you play in the playoffs? Because they're both playing so well. And then Luukkonen really lost the trust of the team, and I think the fans especially, twice. The center ice goal against Boston, played well in game 4 against Montreal, and then he lets in a couple of softies in game 5, and it's right back to, yeah, this is not a guy I can fully ever trust. Lyon had been steady in the postseason. Like, I don't think he had ever really had that bad of a game. He allowed 5-4 in a couple of games, but they were games the Sabres were run over, and he had made a lot of good saves. And you even look now at like some of the expected goals numbers, where Lyon is still the 3rd best goalie remaining in the postseason by goals saved above expected, and Luukkonen is dead last. But how can you go back to Lyon in game 7 after having a historically bad period? Like, not just a period where you lose trust, not a bad period. He allowed 3 goals on 3 consecutive shots, and they were all pretty easy. I mean, it's an easy wrister from the point. It's a one-timer by Demidov where, good shot, but Lyon's nowhere in the play. Like, he's so late at reading it, and then he gets beat on a clean wrist shot between the pad and the blocker after that. So if I were to look at the stats and ignore when all of these games happened, I'd say, oh, Alex Lyon starts game 7 in a runaway, but you can't possibly put Lyon in for game 7. So I think you got to cross your fingers that Luukkonen just isn't going to implode on you in the biggest game of his career.
What are your biggest reasons for hope and your biggest reasons for concern, besides the goaltending, obviously, heading into game 7? Who scares you most about in the Canadiens lineup?
I would say their top line, but honestly, I feel like the Sabres have done a reasonably good job in the playoffs at preventing them from really getting going. Tampa, by the way, did the same thing. Like, Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield have not been the line they were in the regular season. So I wouldn't even really say them. I don't know. I don't want to have too much confidence right now, but like, am I really going to sit here and tell you that Alex Newhook scares the daylights out of me going into game 7? Because he's been their best player. He's been their best forward through the postseason. I'm not going to say him. Like, really, I guess my answer would be their goalie. It would be Jakub Dobiš, who I do not think played well in game 6. He had a terrible period in the first period of game 5, but bounced back really well. But I respect the skill of that guy. Like, I think he is a goalie that even if you're playing well, he could stand on his head and really, really beat you. So from their end, it would be him. And from the Buffalo end, it would really just be their big guns and their best players letting them down. Like, Alex Tuch doesn't have a point in this series. And Tage Thompson, statistically, especially after game 6, has a really good stat sheet. But he's had some really poor moments in this series. Dahlin's been great, but he's just taking dumb penalties. Like, maybe that would be it, honestly, is the Sabres have taken a lot of dumb penalties in this series. They're also getting these light penalties called against them by the refs. So that would be it. It would be Dobiš stealing a game and Buffalo just not being able to stay out of the penalty box.
So the Sabres win game 7 if?
They win game 7 if they're passing the puck and their defense are moving the way they did in game 6. That is when they are at their best. It is positionless hockey in the offensive zone. They are cycling around. That includes the defenseman working down low, creating chances, and they win if the line combos that Lindy Ruff put together for game 6 look the way they did for a second consecutive game. Those lines had not really been lines for them in months, and Lindy put them out there and they were successful. So if the lines play the way they did and their defensemen get involved in the rush, I think they're going to win game 7.
Does having an experienced coach like Lindy Ruff help this team heading into game 7?
In theory, I think you'd want to say that, Gil, but his record kind of stinks in game 7s. Like, no disrespect to Lindy. I love Lindy. He's one of the best coaches. He's 4th all time in wins, and he's been around. I mean, of course, but he's 1-5 all time in game 7s as a coach, and he only did it once as a player, and he was 0-1. That one win, though, was his last game 7. He was with New Jersey in, I believe, 2023. They beat the Rangers, so The last time he was in Game 7, he won it. But listen, I don't know that I want to rely on experience. This franchise they've been around since 1970. It's been a long time. They have one Game 7 victory in franchise history. That's it. So I don't almost even want to out of the corner of my eye, look over there back on the timeline, because there's not a lot of good memories with the Sabres in Game 7s.
Understood. All right, Joe, why don't you tell all our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, you can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Our Everydayers Club, go to lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Sneaky Joe Sports.
All right, Joe, thank you so much.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at KALSHI. The hunt for the Stanley Cup is on, and now you can trade every game on KALSHI. On KALSHI, you could trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. And look, we have got some great numbers here to show you from KALSHI. For example, Game 7 tonight, Montreal and Buffalo. Montreal 48%, Buffalo 53%. The payout, $189. So on KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market. That means there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the KALSHI app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. Again, download the KALSHI app, use code LOCKEDON, and get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, KALSHI, trade on everything.